Have anyone of you heard of tight loose tight before? Yes? Around 10 of you? I'll talk a little bit about it. And I think it's become a big part of my life. And to start with this, I want to talk a little bit about myself, who I am. I educated, I was a bachelor in engineering in '96, and I started to work for this company, which were called Telenor Internet. So there were about 70 people working on the internet. It was the internet company within Telenor. Sounds silly today, doesn't it? And this was the state-of-the-art design. Beautiful. And my part in this company was to work with the email, the electronic postal service. And that was us explaining, because no one knew what internet was. We tried to explain that this is like the postal service, but it's on a computer. So to start working on the internet as a developer and a product developer, no one knew what we were going to create. No bosses to write requirement specifications. Everything was out in the blue. Have you seen this one before? Some of you? Maybe the older one of you? Because what we did was, well, it's not finished. We have to we'll learn to code in Perl, but the web page was not finished, so we had to tell our customers that it's not finished yet. So we put up this, or a man digging, saying it's not finished yet. It will soon be finished. After a few years with this guy shoveling, we understood that we will never be finished. We will continue to change this website, probably for eternity. So around 2000, it disappeared on most sites. But in this highly creative environment, there were some factors that was so important. And my boss talked about this testing, failing, learning. So we were allowed to fail, because of course we failed. No one knew what to create, but they had to learn. That was an important factor. We had some colleagues that failed, and failed exactly the same, second or third time. They had probably this reputation of not being the future of Telenor Internet. And our bosses knew one thing, and that was the result, the money. They were counting money. I don't care how you do this, but the result is very important. And we had this user focus. And within this, we created cross-functional teams. And we started to understand the internet over the years using these factors. We started to understand the customers, how they behaved, and understand how we could create even better, stronger products. So after a few years, it was from 70 to 2,000 employees in 3-4 years. So that's a big growth. But then, around 2001, 2002, something happened. The dot-com era was finished. So we went from 2,000 employees to 70 about in a few months. And the rest of us was migrated into Telenor, the old incumbent part of Telenor, not the hip internet guys with cool t-shirts. And the culture within Telenor was something totally different. Loyalty was the most important part. So I saw my boss, which used to be the cool, result-focused user guy, taking on a hopeless project, wasting around 40 million of Telenor money without creating anything. And what happened? He became a boss. He became a director. Probably because he wasted enough money to show his loyalty to his bosses again. So I understood that, well, this is not fun. And they had this center of excellence, they call it. It's like silos. It sounded very cool. Oh, excellence. But it was not. So I understood that, well, I have to go on. So in 2005, I started in Finn.no. We had existed for 5 years, 70 employees, exactly the same number of employees as when I started for Telenor. And Finn.no had in fact a lot of trouble. So in Finn.no, we discovered Scrum and Lean, and what later became Agile. So the Agile Manifesto is from 2001. This was in 2005, 2006. It was pretty early. And we were so proud that we were able to release once each month, from 4 times each year to once each month. And because it was so early, we booked the smartest people in the world to come work with us as a consultant. So we worked with both Jeff Sutherland and Mary Poppendick. And me as a operational and development leader in Finn.no, I was told to be a part of the planning on a Scrum project, stay away from the implementation, and be a part of the review. So that is what I later named Tight Loose Tight. Basically, it's very easy. And in Finn.no, my observation was that this was very motivating for the teams. So the tougher the review was, the more inspired the team got. So we managed to recreate this from Telenor. And I think this is a fantastic couple, isn't it? Karsten Warholm and Leif Olav. And Leif Olav is a role model for me. I said, inspired from Lean, it should be Leif Olav Ulvnes, because he's not the runner, but he's a part of the team, and he gives feedback for Karsten that Karsten can use. I think that is the Tight Loose Tight magic. And in 3 years, from 2005 to 2008, we had shifted Finn.no from waterfall to agile. We were not allowed to talk to each other, so we had to go through handovers in 2005. And in 2008, we mainly had cross-functional teams. There were a lot of control, so we implemented trust. People did not care, to a fantastic atmosphere. For 500 faults in total in our backlog, to 40. Increase in releases, and we were almost implemented ITIL, but we did DevOps instead. This was before DevOps, so we called it operational developer. And our CEO, after a few months with the Lean and Scrum, came to us and said, I'm not sure what you have done, but it's magic. Great. Fantastic. So I thought I might work on talking about this a few years. It must be possible to copy this success to other companies. So in 2008, I started as an advisor for a company called Da Vinci. And the first class in this new fantastic mindset I was holding was for a group of project managers. And I was finished talking this great speech that you have heard, telling them about this fantastic atmosphere and creativity. And what was the first comment? Those idiots in my team cannot lead themselves. And I was shocked, of course, and everyone was applauding her. So at that moment, I understood that this might be a little bit bigger job than I first imagined. Why was she saying that? Was she a negative person? Raised bad together with all the other project managers? Maybe someone was recruiting this kind of special project manager with not a positive way of looking at people. So within this company, I understood that I have to show them myself. So I tested out for the first time in this lab of mine. There was a project with different consultants coming together. No one was knowing each other. So I was talking about the purpose. We talked about the purpose, tried to find out the purpose of the project. We let them free for a few weeks, then we did the review. And the result was, again, amazing. So this company, Comperio, few of the developers was from this company. They took the project that I was leading as a product owner and sent it into Microsoft, and they won Search Partner of the Year award globally. I have never worked with Search before, but the team did it. The magic of the team. So in 2010, I talked about Titleless Tight for the first time. I just found this because a lot of people will ask me, where did this come from? When did you talk about it the first time? And I found this a few weeks ago. And I was impressed myself because it's quite a good explanation. It says that you have to have a purpose for your team. And your purpose should be so good that all in your leadership group should be away for 30 days without worrying about what would those engineers do. Is that the case in your businesses, you think? How many days do you think the leadership group could be away without worrying? Are you some of you leaders here in this room? Are you worrying right now because you've been away for 4 hours? And the reason why I talked about Titleless Tight was at that time, in 2010 till 2014, everyone in the agile community talked about what the leaders should not do. You should stop documenting, stop writing requirement specifications, stop having roles. But no one is learning a new skill of not doing anything. So you have to talk about what you should do instead. So since then, I've been working with this, and it's been spreading. So what is happening within a team? Why do I and a lot of my friends and colleagues that has used this, why is it so effective? I might have an answer on this. So this is a very simple model of a person, maybe you. So you have probably, if you're new to a project, you probably come into the project with something you would like to do. Probably some kind of internal motivation on going on this project. And then you'll do stuff and you'll talk about stuff. But what you might be talking about might be something different than what you do. So I've created a few personas I met. The career boss is one of them, which I have understood that, well, he's probably more into himself and his own position than the project. The subject matter expert. Have you met him? I have had a few colleagues working with Elasticsearch, and every problem can be solved with Elasticsearch. And if you come with another tool, I can't stop telling you how stupid that other tool is. So my purpose coming to this project is Elasticsearch. Someone might not care about the project at all. I'm here to make my money and go home to have a life. Or the consultant. Being a consultant, I had to have this personas, which is here to build. My purpose is to stay here a lot of hours. So what happened when you gather these people in a team? Will you go in one direction? Maybe you had a brief purpose workshop when you started. Maybe it was the consultants running a process telling you that, well, this is the purpose of a project. Do we agree? Yes? And everyone goes back implementing Elasticsearch or billing hours. This is the reason, I think, why the project managers thought, are you crazy? You cannot let these people self-organize. It will be crazy. And the project manager has one solution, of course, to this problem. That's planning. But then you have to make a plan when you have the least experience, you know? That's the way it is. I'm sorry to say. That's dumb, because it means that planning does not work when you work on difficult problems. A lot of people have tried, and most of them have learned that you are creating solution that is not really working. And it's not very difficult to find out. I ask teams, how's your usage? And too often, they don't know. They have no statistics, they don't know. One team found out that only 30% of what they have created was used by customers. And 70% was not used. That is quite expensive And why didn't they know? Why didn't they care? Because they're following a plan. So they did not know why they were working. They were picking issues from Jira, like in this fabric line. And they did not know what they have created. And when they saw these poor numbers, only 30%, they said, well, don't blame us. Blame the customers. They are the one that's not using the solution as the plan said they were supposed to. I'm not kidding. This is the logic. For internal use systems, a lot of people are hiring change managers for getting the users to change, because they don't understand the perfection of our solution. So this is creating an unsecure environment, I think, and have observed. And what happens then within teams? Because maybe the Elasticsearch guy is not able to implement Elasticsearch, so they form alliances. And these kind of teams are not very pleasant ones. It's very unsecure, not good. So what does a tight loose tight coach do? He's having an iterative approach to purpose. So he talks about the purpose of the project, and then the team is allowed to work for themselves for a few weeks. And then you look at the results, the actions. What's the results? Are we closing in on the problem or not? Maybe I learned something that gives us possibility to be more precise on the purpose. Then a new period of calm, working, concentrated work before we again gather, talk about the result and the purpose. And in my experience, in all cases I've been working on, this happens. One person adopts the purpose of the project as his purpose. Have you felt this? Have you experienced this before? Isn't that great? Because what happens then is probably that your colleagues will do the same. Maybe not all, but a core. To work in a project when your goal is the same as your colleague, that's fantastic. Then you can challenge each other and have quite rough discussions. And you say, well, it's 3:05. Should we grab a beer? Yes, let's do that. Because we're trying to solve a difficult problem, and then we need to discuss. But if we do not trust that your purpose is the same as mine, we will not be friends. Then it will be personal. But for this team, discussion is always creative and good. I think there needs to be two chips needs to be in place for a team member to adopt the purpose. One is that you need to feel that it's important. You have to see that the meaning of the goal. If you have the goal that to make your boss more powerful and rich, maybe you will not get too enthusiastic. And two, everyone needs to feel that they are a part of the result. Not be on the side, but, well, I've been part of this team and I've created this together with my colleagues. And unfortunately, for those of you that are bosses, no one can force people to swap their internal motivation. They need to do that themselves. So you need to be patient and talk about the purpose. So Tight has spread, and I'm glad to, outside my control. So in 2014, that is a much younger version of me. I talked about it the first time. And after the speech was in 10 minutes, I got so many questions that in 2015 I wrote an article about it. And in 2016, NAV chose to use Tight as a model to explain how their leaders needed to change to be agile. In 2019, which was a surprise for me, suddenly I got all these messages that, do you know that Tight is a part of an economic forum website? And Telenor and Sigve Brekke used Tight to explain why employees deserve more trust. And I was invited to dinner with Sigve a few years after I left Telenor. And Telenor, the reason they used Tight is that they scored Tight up against psychological safety and growth mindset. And who won, do you think? Any, not psychological safety, but Tight. Because it's a model easy to adapt, but difficult to do, and a depth that you can work on for years. And now I meet people using Tight like it's a part of their vocabulary, and I tell them, well, it's my idea. They look at me like I'm strange, crazy person. No, this is an American concept. You're wrong. Maybe it is. And it's exported to Germany. We don't make any money of it, not me, not anyone. But it's nice to influence our German friends. So Susanne sent me a message that she's been using it, and it works. And people understand how to change. It's great. And even Aftenposten has written about Tight. So please bring Tight for free back at your enterprises and be a part of the change. Thank you.